Welcome to Mindfulness Manufacturing, the podcast for and with manufacturing leaders. I'm Mike and this is Trevor. We want you to join us on our journey as we help you gain new insights, moments of clarity, and self-awareness.
Hey, if you're willing to step outside of your comfort zone and uncover new perspectives to make your next day better, grab your coffee and let's go.
Good morning. Welcome to Mindfulness Manufacturing Podcast. Well, Trevor, we're excited today. We got a special guest.
Yes, we do.
Years of leadership experience within manufacturing, providing insights, good experiences, and
40
sharing
of them.
with the community. Yeah, 40. What's that make you, 70?
Yeah. Started when I was 14 years old.
I was going to say 10 or 12.
I was young when I started.
Yeah,
I'm not
awesome.
that old.
Yeah, so that's great. We're a pleasure to have this gentleman with us today.
Yes, welcome Bill Priamo. It's an exciting day here for us, talking about our leadership in manufacturing. We talked about manufacturing madness as when Mike and I first started discussing this. And really when we think about what is mindfulness, we never used that term 20 years ago, but it's really being here and now, being present, just being mindful, being with the person. It's not about being lost in thought. We get a text message when we're talking to somebody, or we see a fork truck drive by, and all of a sudden, you get distracted or you get overwhelmed, and then the emotions set in. You lose that presence. So that's what we're talking about today. And and we were just talking before the start around technology versus leadership development. And so let's start with that, Bill. Where do you see that going?
I'm seeing mixed emotions on this, right? I think that I've watched the advent of technology. I've been deeply involved in the advent of PLC technology, robotics application, automation in a manufacturing environment. I've seen the advent of software, links to your smartphone. I see it now where leaders are overwhelmed with information and they can't sift through it. Then on the opposite side of it, from people, for leadership, for people who are in charge looking at their people, I've seen it where we've started advocating standardization.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll stop at nothing to apply new technologies.
Absolutely.
And look for innovative technologies. But we don't look for innovative people. We don't look for decision makers. We want to tell them how to go about it. They're interacting with the technology. The technology is shiny and new and it's exciting.
Yes.
Yeah.
But over, I would say, the last 10 years, as I've gotten older and the up and coming leadership that surrounds me has gotten younger, I hear them advocating, well, you got to get out on the floor and go and look. And you got to go and look and see. And I agree with this. This is not a question. But 35 years ago, when I couldn't pick up my smartphone and see what's going on in a 500,000 square foot plant around me, I had to go out on the floor. Then I started thinking quite a bit about this recently, and I'm looking at it, and well, we need to go and investigate. We need to understand what the problem is. And we do. But we go and look at the machinery, at the technology. We try and figure out why the numbers don't make sense. Why is this machine down? And we push the people out of the way. You couldn't do that 30 years ago.
Right.
Interesting.
It was impossible. There was no feedback from the machinery. The early warning system, the knowledge base, the expertise was in the operator. And that operator made decisions. That operator gave you feedback. You, as a tradesman, I recall in my apprenticeship, they tested you. And in the troubleshooting testing, the tradesman who was overseeing my apprenticeship would send me to a breakdown. And he would be there and watch me. And it was a troubleshooting thing, so he's testing me. It's Friday morning, that was pretty much a standard. I'd walk up to the machinery. If I started interacting with the equipment, he would yell at me and tell me I failed. And it took me 3 tries before I spoke to the operator. Awesome. And that third try, Okay, you're starting to get the idea because you troubleshooted through the people. And that gave them a sense of confidence. That gave them that ability to make decisions, to be certain of what they were doing and how they should go about doing it, right?
You connected with the subject matter expert.
Yeah. But the difference is the people in charge were not telling you how to do it. They were not saying, well, you're not using the equipment properly, you're not using the technology properly. They were not trying to fix the technology. They were trying to interact with the individual who was standing right in front of them and understand where's that person's misunderstanding, right? If it was a decision that created scrap product, if it was a decision that created downtime, damage to the equipment, if it was a good decision that created unsafe atmosphere, right? You were looking to understand what decisions, what actions did that individual take to cause these non-acceptable or non-standard conditions.
Okay, so this is interesting. Put this in perspective. You think of technology and how we advance in terms of better quality, better efficiencies. But I think what you're saying, from a leadership, mentor, practice, coaching, we've lost it through the technology world.
Yes,
'Cause
we,
what you
we
learned
believe
30
that the
years ago.
answers are in the technology.
Right. And rather than grabbing the 25 square foot expert that hears the buzz, the whistles, the ups and downs of the
Yeah.
press, the robots, we're not talking to that person. We're pulling something up on a computer, trying to
Yeah,
figure
we're
out what's happening.
analyzing in advance. And then we
Right.
say we got to go and see.
Yeah.
So we go and
That's
look at the
interesting.
machinery, right? And when I think back to 30, 40 years ago, even 20 years ago, right? When I think back when I interacted with the two of you on an actual shop floor, I came looking for the people.
Sure.
You were talking about it earlier,
Absolutely.
Right,
The first
it
time
was-
I met Bill, I knew he was a leader on site. Showed up,
right?
grabbed the problem and took
I did not
charge.
tell people what to do. What did I tell them? We need to get this moving.
Absolutely.
We need to move forward.
Yeah.
You don't tell them what to do or how to do it. You tell them where we need to go. That's the leader. And I'm finding now that leadership is dependent on, well, I have this piece of paper that was developed. This is the standard work. You're not following the standard work. Well, is that because they don't understand?
Sure.
Is that because they don't agree? Is that because they're uncertain? Well, whose job is it to make them certain? Whose job is it to convince them of the correctness of this approach? Whose job is it to make them confident that they're doing the right thing? Well, that's
Leader.
my job. I'm the leader,
Absolutely.
right? And we've forgotten that. We measure everything now. And that chaos comes from there is so much data. Where do you start? Right?
So when did you start to notice this? Like, what's your reflection or self-awareness? When did it come to you?
I was just as guilty as anyone. It's probably been over the course of the last 10 years that I've started to do a lot more self-reflection, understand that my role is completely different as a leader and my approach is completely different now than over the last 10 years. I've changed. I used to be, well, to put it bluntly, pretty harsh. I was hard on people. I had really high demands. I was unaware of myself, right? I spent 20 years of my career deeply involved in technology. So my machines don't have opinions. Machines don't see that I'm,
Right.
you know, for want of a better word, a heartless bastard. Well, that happens. And you start to understand that it's not necessarily what you say or what you do as the leader, is how you say it and how you do it that will impact people. And I've coached a lot of frontline leaders, team leaders, area leaders, supervisors, what have you. And the message sent is not always the message received, correct? And if you're not self-aware, you may be completely convinced that your message is excellent. And it may be right on target. But if the message received is different from that,
Right.
regardless of your confidence in your messaging, you failed.
So within the manufacturing world, for Trevor and I, working with several different clients, you don't typically hear this type of conversation.
No.
Self-awareness is something that doesn't come up that often.
And where you're leading to, Bill, is awareness of others. So we got listeners that are maybe listening on their way in right now. They're hearing you, they're wanting it, but they're walking into a building where there is chaos. So if you had that person here, what can they do in their own control to practice some of that self-awareness that you're talking about and not just walking into that building today?
I have actually practiced going, I did it this morning. This is something, this was early on. I was a very hard-driven leader early on in my leadership career. And I got to the point where I had to tell myself on the way in the door in the morning to say good morning, to smile, to relax. I don't know if anyone has mentioned it to you here, but I sing coming down the hallway.
Nice.
Every
Can
morning.
we do a little demonstration here?
No, I'm not singing for you guys.
Well, you got the voice for it.
Yeah. But I'll walk in the morning and I'll pick a song. And I will sing that song coming in this hallway to my office every morning. And people notice that. And that sets a tone. And I've spoken to you, Trevor, about this, where in the past I've actually created behaviors on people with my physical appearance.
Yes.
If I'm smiling,
Sure.
if I'm walking comfortably, if I'm stopping to speak to people, how are you, what's going on, you need to be honestly concerned. You need to be prepared to have those discussions. That person may be carrying, like, I've coached people as well.
Right.
Be kind to everyone you meet, because they all carry a heavy load. You don't know what's going on in that individual's life. Yes, there is a mountain of data. There are always issues to overcome. There are always problems to overcome. If there aren't, they won't meet me. Accept that, right? But those things are where you bring your person,
Yes.
not your
Sure.
process.
Yeah,
Right?
exactly.
And another thing I've told people for many years now, probably the last 10 years, like you say, is you can't change other people. I can't tell you to be different. I can't convince you to be different. I can't
Doesn't
sell
work.
you. There isn't enough data in the world to make human beings change. But if I change, I guarantee you your behavior will change. If I started being less talkative, you two would fill the gap.
Right.
I guarantee you right
exactly.
now. You'd fill the dead air.
Yeah, for sure.
Right? People's behavior will change based on your behavior. So don't try and change the world around you. That's too big a job. And you can't, right? But you can change yourself.
Love it.
If you walk down that hallway singing in the morning, you will not only set a tone, right? You may not even sing well, and I don't sing well. You'll not only will you set that tone, not only will people believe that I'm happy. If there's a ton of things going wrong and the boss walks in singing, that sends a pretty strong message.
It does.
That he's not concerned, that he's not intimidated, that he's not frustrated, that individual is not looking at it as an insurmountable issue, that it's just something else we got to do.
So in saying that, it's important to you to set the tone for the environment,
Yeah.
especially in chaos
Yeah.
every day.
And and being a maintenance guy, I tend to sort of gravitate to the maintenance guys. Maybe I got a soft spot there. I yell at them
Sure.
a lot, but I've often described my role as a leader for maintenance guys. You got a multi-million-dollar piece of integrated equipment. It's generating a ton of revenue. You need to concern yourself with it. It is important. It has to be running. It's down. You will get all the go-and-seers. They will be coming to you with spreadsheets full of data and phones that are got little
Yeah.
red dots on them. And look, the screen says it's bad. Yeah, well, the screen don't make decisions for me. I get out there, what do? What I find is a big portion of my role as the leader is crowd control. Because the experts are trying to execute. They look for me for clear direction. How much time do we have? What resources, additional resources, or what other material resources can you provide us? Right? What help can I represent? That's about 10% of my role as the leader. The other 90% is crowd control. I spoke to a couple of people that presently are working in this organization in leadership positions yesterday, and I said, well, the message that you sent and the information you're giving me here are two different things. Your message was very cryptic and basic, and you allowed people higher up the hierarchy to make assumptions, right? And you allowed the people who are actually executing on the task to be uncertain, right? It was cryptic. You need to communicate your intentions as the leader. So if you're in a crowd control situation, the people who are executing need your assistance. They don't need you to tell them what to do or how to do it. What they need to do is articulate their needs to you, and you need to act on getting those.
What do we call those? Pointer outers?
Pointer outers. We
Yeah.
heard that term.
There's lots of them.
They're
This
great.
This is the crowd control,
So
right?
this is an interesting topic. Let's talk about that for a second. What drives the people, could be your peers, could be upper bosses, to command that presence and be a distraction, especially the maintenance guys. I've seen it, lived it.
Yeah.
They're the experts. Let them do their work. But what drives the behavior of that group having to get involved and give direction to people that know their work?
It's the desire to contribute in some cases. It's an honest, authentic desire to contribute. You will run into those individuals who want to help. They feel bad for the situation. They feel that it is not a good situation and they want to help. That's a small portion of the population. Others want to be seen to be helping. And I've coached more than one leader in the last year or two that you're acting like you're in charge. There's nothing wrong with being uncertain, to admit.
Exactly.
There a dozen times a day I interact with some very smart people in this organization. I interact with some very smart leaders in this, and it has to be a half a dozen times a day. Well, I have no idea what you're talking about, so don't try and explain to me. I'm going to trust you. I'll extend my trust that you're going to get this taken care of. What I need to know from you is what you need and what message I need to send further into the organization to ensure that once you have what you need and you execute on what you're going to do, that we will all be successful. Everyone will be confident that it's being taken care of. I'll manage the message. You give me the information. I'll get you the resources. And very few people approach a tense, chaotic, yesterday morning, we're in a very tight situation. We're live loading onto trucks in a particular product.
Okay.
It's no big deal. For me, it's no big deal. I'm walking in, I'm well aware of it. I have access to all the information. This is what's making me more confident. I have instant communications with the individuals in charge. I have instant availability of all the information surrounding it. In the automotive sector, live loading in trucks is never a good thing,
Never. No.
right? Everybody gets tense. Everybody's freaking out.
Yes.
Oh, I want this. I want that. You need to go and look into this. You need to go and look into that. I go wandering down there. I walk slow. There's a reason why I walk slow. I learned it in my apprenticeship, and I'll never forget it. And people walk real fast. We got to go and look. I love it. I walk slow. They get 20 yards ahead of me, and then they stop and turn around. Where the hell did he go?
Yeah.
I'm back here. I'm thinking. You're running.
Yeah. You're present.
Yeah, I'm present. I'm talking to the people that I'm passing by.
You're also setting the tone for the environment.
Exactly. Right?
Yeah,
Relax.
for sure.
There's always problems.
Yeah. And they don't go away.
No.
They'll come every day.
And when you possess, if you can instill a sense of confidence and clarity, clearly communicated, clear expectations, right? If those people know what's expected of them, then they're confident in making the right decisions in order to overcome the issue and get back on track and get to where you need to be. Live loading on trucks doesn't scare me. I've been in worse places.
Sure.
Right?
Yes.
I've been in a lot worse places because I had nothing to put on the truck.
Yeah.
Right? And I was the guy fixing the machine.
You're calling the customer at that point.
But, there's nothing I can do about it. It's going to take me 3 hours to redo this. And I know you have no product to put on a truck, but it's still going to take me 3 hours to do
Yeah, we
this.
can't change
the
that.
longer you stand here and tell me you have nothing to put on a truck, the longer this is going to take. Right?
Well, you're taking a totally different approach, Bill, in the whole fight or flight If you're running out there and you're creating stress, our brains naturally tighten up.
Yeah.
We got to protect ourselves. We feel the stress. We feel our jobs may be at risk.
Yeah.
So we're not going to take risks in our own decision making. We're going to be limited thinking.
Mm-hmm. You won't be as innovative, definitely. And people will not have a sense of accomplishment when they overcome the situation. They will have a sense of failure.
Mm-hmm.
And when you instill a sense of failure and repeatedly do that, look, there's a little red dot on that screen up there. If every interaction with their leader leaves them, well, my boss had to come out here and clean up the mess, that's a sense of failure.
Superman.
Yeah. If my boss comes out and says, hey, can I get you a coffee? How long is this going to take? What do you need? Is there anyone else you can get that will help you? Is there someone in the building? I did this yesterday. Well, who do you need to help you? This individual was working very hard. He was trying very hard. He was struggling. And I didn't say to him, well, why don't you know? Why don't you do this? You should do that. This is not a teaching moment. The guy is frustrated. He's aware that it's a scary environment. There's a lot of stress. There's chaos. There are people asking questions. And he is uncertain. My question to him, and there were people around. I did the crowd control because generally, you know, when I show up, people tend to sort of drift away. Oh God, he's here. I walked up to that individual who was trying very hard and said, hey, thanks. Is there someone in the building I can get to help you out with this? Boom, that name came immediately. And I get on the phone, hey, can you send so-and-so down to this end of the plant? We could use his help right now. That guy showed up, the individual who was initially involved in the problem. You could see the relief.
Awesome.
And you could see the confidence, because as soon as that individual arrived, he started interacting with a peer, someone who could help him.
Sure.
Technically, they're expert, right? The communications now wasn't how long is it going to be, what are you doing, why aren't you doing this, why aren't you doing that? It was, they were speaking as equals. They started to think. They started to troubleshoot on their own. They were sharing information, knowledge, skill, right, experience. I stood there for 10 minutes. They had a game plan. They went in and executed. We'd been down 2-3 hours. Within 35 minutes, these two guys, come on, I'll grab you a coffee. I always say I'll come and buy you a coffee because the coffee here is free, right?
Yeah.
Took them up to the cafeteria and had a coffee. That line's still running, no issue.
So this is interesting. Where you're coaching and mentoring.
Took me a while to learn that lesson.
Yeah, I was gonna,
I used to be the guy with the sharp elbows. Get the hell out of my way.
You got some scars. I'll guarantee you got
Oh, yeah.
some scars.
I've left some scars on others as well. man.
You carry a presence. Whether 20 years ago when I first met you to today, you've learned a lot. I'm sure of that.
Yeah, the hard way.
But one thing we haven't touched on, went through self-awareness. You really understand the people side, it sounds like, as we converse today. For the listeners, where's the confidence come from? As a leader, how did you build that over time? Because you have it.
Well, I can share other feedback that I've received. The feedback that I've received is the authenticity. I've stopped trying to be what I used to be. I've stopped trying to be what others want me to be. I don't allow the environment to demand that this is what you should sound like, this is what you should look like, these are the things you should do. That's standardization. We will give mountains of latitude to technology, but we expect human beings to follow in lockstep to our beliefs, our expectations of them. If you don't look like a duck, then you're not a duck, right? And that's wrong, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm much more comfortable now, and I'm much more confident. I do believe that there's nothing. I once had a coach, a leadership coach, in this building. It was 15 years ago. They had never been on our shop floor. And the entire leadership, including the steering team, all the department leaders, you were here. He asked in that room can someone take me out on the floor? And everybody looked at me. Now, I don't know if they were just deflecting responsibility because they wanted to go and suck up and do something else, but I took that individual out on our shop floor. And we were out there for about, I don't know, a good hour anyway, and I'm like, oh, this is hydroforming, this is this is that, this is paint shop, this is... And he stopped me and asked me, prior to entering back into an office environment, the leadership environment, what scares you out on this shop floor? And I said, well, nothing. And he says, how can you say that? Well, there's nothing in here that scares me, technologically. But at that time, now that I'm more self-aware, now that I do more reflection of me as a leader and my impact in my behaviors, I realize technologically I wasn't afraid of anything, but I was mortally afraid of the people out on that floor.
This ends our first part with Bill Priamo. Check out our next episode for part 2.
Hey guys, thanks for taking the time and joining us today. We had so much fun. Please remember to subscribe. It's free. Share it with colleagues. Look for our next episode in a couple weeks.
If you want to drive results, the first step is realizing how you show up.
That's the essence of mindfulness and manufacturing.